you. We're here live in Atlanta. Yay! My name is Krisztina Bell with No Vacancy Home Staging, and I am your host today. I do these marketing webinars, and I like to do them where anybody can come on nationwide, agents, sellers, builders, investors. I think the hot topic these days is definitely short-term rentals. That's why I've been doing quite a few of these. And we have been recording these, by the way, so we can show them, send them to those that have signed up, or I believe Barbara's got a few of these webinars up on her website. I'm going to be trying to feature them also in my blog pages here soon as well. But again, welcome everyone that's still hopping on. We're here in Atlanta. I am basically a professional home stager as well. We've been staging vacant houses here in Atlanta for over 18 years. And my two guests that I have today, and the reason why you're joining is they are Atlanta's top short-term rental experts. We've got Barbara Heil-Sonneck with Design2Sell, and also Amy Powers with Vacancy Rental in a Box. Both are also professional home stagers of over 15 years or so, coming from different backgrounds. All of us, I mean, I wasn't even in this business. I was a real estate agent, and then I was in the printing and graphic design business before this. Barbara's been in the corporate world. Amy, I don't know what she did before she got into staging, but
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, stay-at-home mom, there you go. But we've all teach classes. I teach home staging classes. I'm teaching a paint CE class coming up. I'm a big Sherwin-Williams fan. And besides these webinars, we're doing lots of short-term rental webinars, different topics. I'm also going to be doing a HomeSnap app webinar as well coming up in May, and more home staging CE classes kind of all over Atlanta. So I'm really excited about that. So on that note, you all might be on here because maybe you're thinking about investing in a short-term rental. Maybe you already have a short-term rental, or maybe you have no clue about short-term rentals at all, or the rental business, period. But one thing that I've learned is that, rental properties now, there are some big corporations coming into Atlanta that are actually building communities, not to sell, but to rent. Believe it or not, they're building homes in a rental type community. There's multifamily opportunities. There's a lot of good investment opportunities, and that's going to be maybe the next topic of our next webinar. But I want to kind of let people know that rental properties can kind of go different. You could be creative with them. There's long-term rentals, which is very typical. We know about those, but there's also midterm rentals, by the way. I think this is something important so that we know the difference between the three. Insurance, housing, executives, maybe people between jobs. The entertainment industry is big here in Atlanta. Those would be ideal clients for possibly if you're thinking of doing a midterm type rental. But today I really want to focus on short-term rental because that's the vacation thing. Guess what? COVID's done. Maybe we're going to get it again. Who knows? But we're over it. We're ready to get it out. We're ready to, take vacations. I think a lot of people did in November, December, but I'm thinking a lot of people are going to take even more vacations. If they didn't use up their vacation points, whatever, during COVID, I think they're going to have to start taking some of that and doing it this spring and summer. So I assume, as Barbara called it, that would be considered high season. And so that's what I want to kind of talk about is, okay, so if I've thinking about investing, or I have a short-term rental, what do I do? How do I be creative? How do I market this? And so that's kind of the topics that we want to talk about today. And then in the meantime, if you guys are like, ooh, I have another question about this or that, pop your questions in the chat box because I'm going to be the one monitoring, but Amy and Barbara are going to take off because this is not my expertise. I stage vacant houses for sale. That's it. Barbara and Amy focus on specifically staging and buying furnishings and basically helping clients with their short-term rental investment properties. So on that note, I'd like to kind of start out with, anything that you guys want to talk about first, but maybe best places to market online, where maybe the process of how to begin, like where to start. Like, do I need to create a website? And then do I need to attach it to Google or Expedia or Airbnb? Kind of maybe a little bit of a step-by-step process there, maybe. I don't know, you guys go at it.
Barbara?
Well, part is in general, and I'll let hop Amy in after, since she is also marketing nationwide in that specific part. I think the majority of people, as they get started, would utilize one of the existing platforms like Airbnb and VRBO when they have, when they're getting started, because there is a lot of additional work involved when you're running your own websites and when you're running your own platforms. And I think we will go into that a little bit, a little bit more. Amy, any other thoughts you would like to add?
Yes, I agree as well with Barbara. Start simple. There is so much, there's a learning curve, so many things that you don't know that you don't even know yet. And those platforms have a lot of the situations that you could come across that you may not be aware of already built into their system. So it makes it easier for you straight away. If you have a luxury property, there are luxury property platforms that are very specific to that to consider. So after you start with VRBO or Airbnb, if you have a more specific type of property, the next step would be to figure out what that is, and maybe a platform that might be more specific for that as well.
So is it easy to, if they got the short-term rental, they've taken the photos, is it easier just to kind of set up, a posting, I guess? Is that considered a posting as far as
Listing?
listing on like
Yeah.
Airbnb and VRBO?
Yeah, I can call them listings, property listings on the different platforms. So yes.
I've never had anybody ask me this question before. Requesting record this meeting locally. Do we want? I think I'd like to have access to the recording and not make this a public type of thing. If you don't mind, Jill, this is kind of exclusive. And so I really would like to have access to this and not allow it to be kind of open to whoever, if you don't mind. I really appreciate that for privacy purposes. Thank you. Okay, so sorry, so recollect. So we can do a posting. Would it, if they're starting out doing a posting there, so that would be better than like creating like a website instead for the actual rental property? It'd be better to have it posted on just one like Airbnb, or post it like everywhere? Or you're not allowed to post it everywhere? Is there limits on that? I don't know. That's what I'm wondering about.
Well, you start with your Airbnb, VRBO. You can go on different platforms. They normally have, certain elements and, and links, but, some of the major platforms don't really appreciate as much if you have, if you're trying to divert away from their existing platform and platform use. So you have to be a little bit careful there.
You also need to take in consideration, if you have it on multiple platforms, how are you making sure you're not double booking yourself? So you need some kind of management system in place, and there are software management companies out there who will consolidate your different platforms so that you don't have that double booking or that overlapping as well.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful to understand that, that the platforms or the top platforms you are selecting are talking to each other. Like Airbnb, VRBO, there's at least, opportunity that they are talking to each other. So as you onboard any additional platforms, you want to make sure that everything is aligned to exactly avoid what Amy was mentioning, because that could be an absolute nightmare.
Yes.
The other part is also how everything is managed, and not all data is transferred. You have to understand, how much time involvement it will take from your side to ensure and manage all of that as well. So I think these are, specifically when you're starting out with, one or two most probably won't make a lot of sense to go away, really use what exists and learn. That would be my advice.
So we've got,
Right.
what are some of the sites? So we've got, obviously the VRBO, the Airbnb, that is somebody, I think Amy mentioned Expedia and Google.
Well, and bookings.com has that as well. And there's actually some companies like Marriott has it. You can start listing your luxury property, Home and Villas by Marriott. And if you're a Marriott Bonvoy member, you can accrue points through their hotel system as well. So I think the hotel industry or some of them are wising up that if you can't beat them, join them. So I think that's why Marriott is participating in this.
Yeah, I believe that we will see a lot of different type of hybrid models, being rolled out this year, because the hotel industry has discovered that there is a market share they are losing, and people honestly, enjoy this opportunity to stay more in a apartment or in a house versus in a called hotel room. And of course, it depends for what purpose, right? Travel, there's always a purpose, for everything. If you have like one night go or convention, there is, a certain advantage to have that all together because of the community and the collaboration there. But if we're talking more about, that vacation part and or even something close by, people use it. So we're going to High Point, right? Krisztina mentioned, we might, some of us, we might even, meet up there in High Point again. So we rented an Airbnb and shared it, with some other or short-term rental. Actually, I like to use the term short-term rental versus like marketing only one specific platform. But Airbnb has become like, that name, and it is utilized. So even when we're talking about marketing, to utilize, certain words in your search terms. So when you are setting your blogs and creating backlinks, makes sense, right? Because these are terms that are used. Even so, we like to utilize the broader term of short-term rental, which is not targeted to a specific brand.
Gotcha.
Also, vacation rental is another way you can use search engine optimization for that as well.
So yeah, so what are some good keywords then? That's a good topic.
I'm going to take notes on this, Barbara.
What would be some good keywords, to describe? And I mean, do you do hashtags or keyword, or did I ask you keywords when you put in your listing? Because I've never listed a short.
Well, so you're talking about for marketing your actual specific short-term rental. So I think the next step is once you have your VRBO and Airbnb initial platforms, right? Things are going smooth. You're starting to get a good group of people coming in consistently. So you may want to think the next step might be how you can start capturing their information so you can start a self-booking site for yourself. And that would be where, Krisztina, you would have a web page for your property or your listing and have people go there directly. They can book there directly. That's what it's called, direct booking or self-booking. I think direct booking might be the more accurate term
for that. Yeah, I think you want it to be, and again, starting to collect the data. You can do that without starting your own web page. Just think about it as a strategic task, from the get-go. You just have to be very careful because the main platforms don't really appreciate if conversation goes outside of their terms. So you have to think about being a little bit more creative, so you're not getting dinged in regards to the communication. So because they don't really like if you are trying to link people outside of your chats. But there are certain elements and certain ways. One part is what type of security codes are you actually utilizing, which we love to use the last 4 digits of the phone numbers of people coming up. It's easy for them to remember and easy for us as well. So you have an opportunity possibly also get the full phone number in that way of utilizing that code. So there's just, you have to be a little bit more creative in how you want to capture that. We love to ask people also to send us, we have the concept and we are very niche market focused on the dog-friendly environment. So every month we're trying to, from a marketing use perspective as well, to put something new out. If that is a new toy, now we put like, an old, tire in the backyard where the dogs can jump over or can, swoop through for like a fun element. So we do a lot of marketing around that. And we like people to send us the pictures, which we also link to their reviews and what they are. So if they are, it's pretty much like the dog is giving a review of the property and their stay. So that's like a little nice, link, and marketing gig. And therefore we're trying to capture pictures, to do things a little bit different.
Yeah, that's kind of like a niche. It's kind of like marketing, I know that Barbara's properties, they kind of focus on, people with dogs and things of that nature. So you could have like a catch, maybe it's on the beach, maybe it's on a lake, maybe it's on, a mountain home. So, what can you do to make it catchy or people remember, besides leaving the journal, tell us about your experience, and they leave the little journal and say, their name and whoever they are. In your little book inside of a short-term rental. I've seen that before. But anything else you want to add to that, Amy, as well?
Yes, other ways you can capture their information is through them logging onto Wi-Fi. You can capture their email in that regard. You can have an Instagram worthy space in your property. It could be a mural, it could be a fun wall with a neon sign or something that might say hashtag, tell me all your secret information without telling me. And which the hashtag would actually be whatever the name is or the brand is of that property.
Yeah.
So Barbara's property could be hashtag super dog friendly or something like that. And then have an Instagram page and have that so that you can market through Instagram your property as well. And you'll get responses, you'll probably get messages. I know of people who will put their properties on Facebook and, direct message me if you're interested, instead of, going through Airbnb as well.
So that leads me to the next topic, because there seems to be a couple questions coming up. So once they get that going, how do you manage collecting payment? Is there taxes to collect? How does all that kind of, I know that's a whole nother ballgame, but how can we kind of maybe just touch on a few important tips as far as, maybe recommending a good management platform, or how do you manage the payments and collecting, and do you have to charge tax and this and that and cleaning fees and all the dog pet fee and all that? How does that work?
Well, if you have a direct booking site, those kind of things would be put in there as well. It would be very similar to if you were using Airbnb or VRBO. You would have the cleaning fees incorporated, the taxes and whatnot. You just have to manage it yourself versus the convenience of Airbnb will take care of those things for you, state and local taxes. I believe that's correct, right, Barbara?
Yeah.
So you just have to pay your cleaning people outside of that, but you can even set that up as a system.
So again,
platform. Is there a management platform, or Airbnb you said does that? So okay.
Yeah, and there are different management platforms, but Barbara, what were you going to say?
Sorry.
Well, no, that was really the point. Is like, if you're utilizing some of the top platforms, they're managing all of that for you, and of course there's a certain percentage of fee they're capturing, for doing all of that, on top. And there are a lot of new taxes. It's part of hotel tax type of concept.
Evolution.
Yeah, so you have to really understand what that is, and you have to also understand how to submit it, to the county you are you're in, so that you are not getting, hit after the fact. So that's something important when you're doing it by yourself versus Airbnb and VRBO, they are doing it for you.
But when they do it for you, how does that work? They're sending you payments, or they're taking care
No,
of, or how does that work?
It's taken out of the, it's already taken out. It is listed separately. It's taken out of the total amount. So
Because technically on those platforms, Krisztina, they're not paying Barbara.
Yeah.
If, for example, they're paying Airbnb. So Airbnb is responsible for all of that. And then they just send whatever money, whoever, their short-term rental, the owner is, they're sending them their direct income as well.
Yeah. And there's a good point. You have to really evaluate all of the different platforms, because not all of the platforms are doing it. So Heather Rose mentioned like booking.com is not doing it. So in the way you are selecting your platforms, if you don't want to deal with all of the add-ons, it's important to understand, what's your responsibility versus what's the responsibility of the platform. So that definitely do your due diligence there.
Yes.
So
yes. Good. Very good point. What?
Your own might be good to have an accountant, obviously.
Definitely you should have an account anytime you have a business, and this should be run like a business.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a very good point right there, of course.
You want an LLC for your property so that should any liabilities come back, it will not directly impact your family.
And
so
that
that's very important.
might hit on, okay, so you got the Heather said booking.com not taking insurance to cover any damages. Do you charge the client?
I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I want to mention that Vacancy, HostAway, Guesty for Host are an example of different platforms that you can.
Again. Hold on a second. Let me type these out. Vacancy, right? Vacancy.com, and then what was the other?
HostAway.
Lodgify.
What is it?
Lodgify.
Extrafy. That's for higher end properties, right?
Yeah, Guesty.
And Guesty for host, yeah.
And
there's more. Yeah,
there's tons of different platforms.
I'm about to say, I'm not gonna list all of them. But yeah, LiveRes is one.
Some of them in there.
You can actually Google talking about search term vacation rental management system softwares.
Yes.
Or organizations, and then you'll get a whole list of them. So you'll figure it. Vacancy was not on the list, but Vacancy is one of the more popular ones actually.
And also I think we were talking about best places to market for the luxury. I think
I have a list of those as well.
Airbnb, luxury, Evolve, is it Evolve?
Yes.
Oliver's Travels.
Plum Guide is number one.
Plum Guide.
Plum Guide, okay.
Homes and Villas, right? Amy mentioned that Homes and Villas through Marriott International.
Oliver's Travels. Oliver's Travels is really cool because they have very unique type spaces on their properties. But again, you can also Google luxury short-term rental platforms, and that information will pop up for you as well.
And then, of course, Airbnb as well as VRBO have their luxury segment. They are trying to capture a portion of that market segment as well.
Yeah, that was new to me. I didn't realize that they're doing it. It's interesting how even the hotel, that's what's fascinating to me is the hotel. There was a
Yes.
couple questions.
So insurance,
Oh,
right?
insurance about damage. Do you charge the client? What will be our responsibility for reporting taxes? I think we answered that one, but we could say it again.
So as far as insurance goes, Airbnb has insurance offerings. I think VRBO may too. I'm not sure. But I recommend you getting your own insurance to cover yourself. And Proper is a company that offers insurance for short-term rental owners as well. And there's other companies. Again, you can also use search engine words like vacation rental insurance, things like that. So one thing I like about Proper, it is underwritten by Lords of London. And what they will do is if you have, for example, if something were to happen in your kitchen, a fire, something where you cannot rent out because of repairs. If you have a history of having a good rental history, they will reimburse you for the lost revenue as well as take care of repairs. They are more expensive because of that, but you are protecting your asset in multiplicity of ways in a way that other property home ownership insurance would not cover you.
Yeah. Other part is, and again, checking if there are any exceptions, right? Part is like, think about bed bugs, think about, any other elements which really would have, huge impact, on your, of course we have the big catastrophes, but then it's also like the smaller ones who can have, major impact, on that, and what is covered and what is not. So always, suggestion is, even if you start with one insurance, it's like running a business. Every year, you will review your insurance package and also see what else is out there, also from a pricing perspective, because often you might get a discount and then, you might not look at it again, but, it's always good to compare and get your 3 quotes in per year.
Okay, then I guess it seems like, okay, we've got marketing, talked about the taxes, talked about the different management type platforms.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other topic we were going to talk about a little bit is, well, here we are, it's spring, summer, maybe people are preparing. I know there's either people moving out of the properties as we head into summer. I know that like right now I'm starting to get inquiries about, well, the renters are moving out. So sometimes at that point, either the seller is going to make that decision to keep it going as a rental, or they may decide to sell. But say that we're keeping it as a rental and they might decide to do a short term, or somebody's preparing a lot. I think a lot of people are preparing homes right now, whether they're going to sell them or rent them. It's just that time of year. So I guess this would be considered high season, right? As we head into spring, summer, Barbara?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the high season. And of course, in that business, you have, in the high season, there might be less, specials you're running, unless you see that, your bookings are not coming in as frequently. Then, like with every other business, you have to establish certain elements of marketing strategies. So in the lower season, you definitely also work a lot with, with certain pricing or certain specials you're putting out for your clients. If you started to have your repeat clients, you also, have your possibly email newsletters you're putting out. You might even create your own little Facebook group or your own little, private, private group where you are communicating and sharing opportunities. There might be additional little perks, like, we have firewood. Yeah, you give like a free firewood special or package out there. There's a lot of different opportunities how you can utilize and attract. Also very important, always to stay up to date what the market is doing in the area you are buying. what is selling high and low. Sometimes you might be surprised also if you compare that, if you're also thinking, okay, I might want to purchase 1 or 2 or 3 more properties this year. And then you want to look, okay, what is renting high and low? So is it the lake property? Is it, the waterfront? Is it the view? What is really renting for the highest price? And you might be surprised that some of that might not match 1-to-1 with what the sales price is and the list price. So there might be additional opportunity, if that makes sense. Because you want to, at the end, you're looking and you're putting a scenario and a pitch together based on the expected rent coming in. So the scenario for one property can look completely different compared to another.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very well said. And to piggyback off that a little bit, for low seasons, you can offer like girlfriend weekends with with a spa, with someone coming in for a spa treatment, and add that cost into your package and different things like that. And what I learned at the conference that we were just at, Barbara, was remember what you're passionate about. You can translate that into packages. Whatever you love about your property, make a package out of it if it's something that's, has some substance to it that you can do that with as well.
Somebody's asking, can you turn your staging business into a short-term rental styling business? You can add any additional services.
I think I can answer that question. I was staging for 15 years and then I pivoted and I only do short-term rental staging or design. I don't even call it staging because it is completely a design. It is not staging. And I actually teach a course on that. So if you want to learn more about that, I offer that course as well. You can email me or call me. My information's in the chat.
Go ahead.
And it's a very thorough course. And I teach about my experiences and go into very much detail on how to run a business. Yes, on that.
So that does touch on a couple things. It's not really that much different than what I teach in my home staging CE class about marketing a property to sell. It's very similar with your short-term rental. You've got to tell the story. Make sure the photos look attractive. Make sure the photos are updated. If there's a new restaurant that's moved into town, or if there's dog park in the area, or any additional amenities that have come into maybe the area, the community. I mean, I guess that's one way to kind of knock out your competition, so to speak, a little bit there, as far as that goes. So a lot of similarities. Just trying to look at interested. Heather said she's very interested, of course, in taking your courses there. So yes, you can add short-term rental styling, staging type business. Could be an additional service. You don't have to go into it full time, but it just could be an additional that you've added. Which in Barbara's case, she's done that with her business. What else is good, I guess, topic, because we whipped through that really quick. But we still have about 15-20 minutes or so for any other additional questions or any other topics that somebody wants to talk about. Put in the chat box.
Christine has a good one about internationally designing short-term rentals, and that can be done. I mean, I do it nationally. I hardly do it in Atlanta at all. Barbara probably does it in Georgia only, if I recall. But you just need to know the vendors of wherever you're going. That's the number one thing that you have to be aware of. Who are you going to source furniture from? Who are you going to source bedding and towels and on all the kitchen needs? And then have an understanding of what that country, what's in place for that country, what electric system they have, because I know Europe has different outlets than the United States. So you have to be aware of little nuances that might be very hyper local to that area. So just take those things into consideration, and that just is educating yourself. You can do that on your own, or you can even make that part of your questionnaire with your client, qualifying that information with your client when you have an opportunity to work with somebody.
Yeah, well, part is like, I know I spoke last year at European conference in Portugal, and you have, your different suppliers and vendors there as well, which are mainly targeting for the European market. Also, very important, there's different rules and regulations, there as well. But there are some specific also, really good looking, but nice, suppliers there. So, local sourcing on the international side for sure is an important element there as well.
Does Airbnb, VRBO, do they have an international section?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ah, interesting.
They're
So
worldwide.
I'm sitting here thinking, going, do you think FMLS, Georgia MLS, I mean, you can only do long-term rental postings in there, correct? On FML, on both, oh, you guys aren't real estate agents. I wonder if FMLS or any of the multiple listing services do a short-term rental or mid-term rental type listing if you can post a link. Krisztina is shaking her head no. Interesting. I wonder if they'll ever open that up though. I know FMLS, Alabama, East Alabama multiple listing service just joined in with FMLS, and I think that they're also going to continue to add more multiple listing services, even internationally too, are going to join in with FMLS. That's what I heard at the FMLS offices. So this is going to be interesting.
If you can conceive it, it can happen.
Yeah. Huh.
So
yeah. Well, I think the interesting part is, understanding how real estate works in different countries is not the same like how real estate works, here in the US.
Exactly.
And in regards, we're actually, interestingly enough, there is less government oversight in a lot of the European countries. Now I know, the market is constantly changing. In the luxury market, you have luxury brands and luxury websites. They are selling product directly from one person to the other. If that is the yacht, or if that is the $7 or $20 million property, right? A lot of that, there's already websites out there where there, is connection, and they're doing that, also at a global level. So it's interesting. As I said, there's much more new concepts coming out. And that's the same, like, you don't have like that, European example, FMLS, there's nothing like that. Every country has their own, little ways how they're doing it. And in some countries, there's not really a lot of oversight. It's more, okay, you always have been in that market for years, and that's the person to go to. But there's no, there's not a framework around it, but they're working on it. They're trying to align all of the different countries. Just a little side note on, some international, and maybe Christine can also put something else in the chat in regards to other countries or Latin America.
So short-term,
but it's different.
Short-term rentals, I have a question about that. What's considered short-term until it gets to mid-term?
30 days or less is STR.
Okay.
Midterm,
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm asking silly questions.
No, that's okay. Midterm is typically 6 months or less. 6 months to 30 days, 31 days. So Jill asked the question, would you advise a 30-day booking? Yes. That's 30 days of solid revenue. That's the goal, is to have 100% occupancy. So that's absolutely yes. But to also how you can market yourself in low seasons too is maybe turn it into a midterm rental for the winter, so that you can work with insurance companies, nurses, or whatever. And that's the way you can also, fill in that gap, is to maybe mind shift to midterm rental, which a lot of short-term rental businesses are doing. It's kind of the trend right now, because that's how they feel they're going to make it through any economic changes that could possibly be coming up.
So
And-
on the Airbnb, VRBOs and the regular sites, is there a limitation on how long or how short? There's no limit, so it's
I
gotta
don't
be
think
short term and midterm. I don't know if there's any, is there specifics on there that you're
I
allowed?
don't think there are I mean, I don't think you can do long term. They
Right.
will take deductions out. You know, they will give you like a bulk price versus a daily, what it would be actually daily. They discounts kind of per se. But there are actual platforms specifically geared toward connecting with people who would need you for midterm rentals.
Oh, really? What are those? I don't even know what those are. Same thing or different?
I knew she was going to ask that question.
See, this is good stuff that I don't even know about. I'm like curious.
Uh,
I thought somebody was,
now that you ask, I cannot think of one of them.
oh my God, and then we
Um,
got to Google.
But it's like Friend Finder one or something like that for nurses or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And
the
you're
other
right,
thing
and
is how would you be able to, I guess, for people that are like, well, how would I be able to market to the entertainment industry? How would I be able to market to nurses? Is there, I guess you could do Google research on that too, postings. Maybe in communities and Facebook communities, maybe that are geared toward that. That might be an idea. Just trying to think.
It's very, if you think about that, that medium-term market is often very aligned to strategic marketing in that area towards like businesses and or like like a hospital. There's a lot of but there's special marketing activities going there. I'm not the expert in that specific area, but I know that there is specific education specifically on that medium-term market, because it's different than the short-term market. And there's a certain element of overlap. I know another niche market, if you are in communities where there is a lot of new construction. We had a PGA player renting out for 5 to 6 weeks because they were overlooking and overseeing the building of their new home or their second home, like in a subdivision close by. So there's different ways, there's different strategies. I think it is really understanding clearly, okay, who would come up there? Who would be the target market? Do you have that hospital in the area? And as you are not as niche with your product, so if you're, there's a lot of, niches of experiences. I just at a SuperBowl event for a nonprofit who was fighting human trafficking, got like a little package for like a tent experience, like a safari, so luxury tents up in North Georgia. So there's what I said, there is always different opportunities, and they look great, like this luxury tents, and you have this beautiful view. It's a niche market, and it's not as costly. So what I say, yeah, there's air conditioning in it, right? So again, it's really fully set up. But if you are more in a market which is broader, it comes down back to location, right? And people like short walks. So what else is there? It's not only converting a rental into a short term. It's really knowing exactly where would people gather, right? Where hotels, hospitals, close access to interstate. What are people doing in this area in general? That defines what your target audience is. Comes back to that. Comes definitely back to that.
Anything else to add to that, Amy?
She's exactly right. And another term is in real estate, we call them target audience or target demographic. And the short-term rental, the phrase that you may hear more often if you're talking to other short-term rental people is avatar. The target avatar is another term for that. I'm working on a property in Indiana, it's a huge property. It's 80 acres, and it has a main house that is going to be like, it'll sleep 12 people, and they're using it. They have their demographic or avatar is reunion, corporate events, wedding events, and they're going to do this in different phases where they're doing the big house first, and they have a couple of barns they're going to turn into short-term rental, rustic short-term rentals. They're adding tree houses in the wooded areas, and they're going to have a little tiny home cul-de-sac that they're going to build. And then they have another house on the property that they're going to fix up for a property management person to stay on site and be able to manage everything. And so I'm excited because there's so many different avatars in that my brain is going to be working overtime. But that's the uniqueness of having it as a business, as a service in your business. It is using some creativity that you may have put under, because staging, your ideal person is going to be pretty consistent if you have, that niche in your staging business, and then you can just go crazy and have fun with it.
I
The
love that
short-term
that
rental.
is a new project for you. You should really, really take a lot of before, after, or whatever. Like that would be
Have
so cool to see the process of it coming to fruition, and seeing the log cabins and the tree houses and God, that would be a whole presentation thing. That would be a great before and after presentation to really see
yes.
the journey of that and how it all comes together, and then in the end, of course, showing people actually physically, renting the
Oh,
property,
it's happening. I'm
getting
so
there.
excited.
Wow, that sounds like a really
Half
cool
half
project.
the house too is an indoor heated pool.
Oh God.
Two story. That's a whole conversation right there. So I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well,
Barbara,
this is really a full hospitality concept, right, Amy? This is a full hospitality concept. Of course, the market,
Yes.
all of that. As I said, that's what we said. We will see a lot of, overlap if we're thinking about hospitality and, the short-term rental market and new concepts. Same like, if there's a lot of builders who are also venturing into a whole different element of experiences, and so there's an overlap. There's absolutely an overlap, and it's coming. Same with building, unique concepts like, up in the mountains. There are over 50, 60 acres, up north. Somebody just bought it, and he will build little, like wine barrel look type of cabins there,
Nice.
because he got the idea when traveling to Portugal. And, on that 50 acres, everybody has their little element and their little spot. So it's interesting. So you will, as I said, people go now for much more experience, right? Something a little bit more unique. That's why I also brought up the luxury tent scenario. But in that experience and uniqueness, it's coming down to target audience. So it will be interesting. So a lot of things are definitely happening. And there's disruptive innovation going on in all different areas.
that's probably why the hotels are changing their scenery and updating their lobbies and more lounge.
And their commercials. Have you seen the commercial changes? That's hilarious.
Oh wow.
So one thing Barbara just said that I want to make sure in every conversation I have about short-term rentals that this is repeated. If you're a stager, and I know there's realtors on here, there's a lot of our colleagues on here that we know you as stagers and so forth, and hi, we're so happy you're here. It is a mindset change from real estate to hospitality. You are now in a new industry. You are no longer in real estate. So you have to shift your mindset and think about the hospitality aspect, and all that is involved. And I talk about that a lot in my class more specifically, but I want to make sure that everyone here understands that it is a mindset shift.
Yeah, I noticed
Correct?
that there's actually a couple more classes or some seminars that they're doing at High Point. There was a couple of them I read that are based on hospitality, and I don't know if they're talking about short-term rental or not. I didn't read through the whole, but Those of you that might be going to High Point, we keep talking about High Point Market. This is similar to the Atlanta market here in Atlanta, or America's Mart, it used to be called. But it's called High Point, and it happens in High Point, North Carolina. It's a little bit different setup, more outdoorsy and lots of buildings, but it's all with the vendors that all of us stagers kind of go to and check out and order furniture, decor, whatever. But there's lots of seminars of how to, you know, grow our businesses and just to keep current with what's happening, not only in, you know, the design industry, but all over, you know, hospitality. It's all across the board, residential, commercial, all of the above. So it's an event that, you know, again, if you're working with great vendors, they should be going to conventions and events like this to keep in the know, because as Barbara mentioned before, things are changing rapidly. Now we've learned today that hotels are even getting into this short-term rental, and you can list your short-term rentals with them as well.
And, you know, just to add on-site part, you know, I'm always have been an investor in real estate. I have my rental portfolio. Now I'm building the short-term rental portfolio. My newest venture is to invest in apartments. I'm all about really, you know, really about thinking about passive income, and specifically, you know, trying to encourage women to think about their passive income, because there's always the constant wheel of running a business. But, you know, at a certain point, you also want to utilize and plan ahead and, you know, putting some money aside, invest it again, where you also hopefully get some passive income overall, which is, you know, one of the new ventures and the new direction, you know, I am, and in my new company, I am going, you know, I'm going after. It's really putting much more education out there. That's why I want to own short-term rental. I want to own the real estate. I want to have something I can touch, and something also which, outside of creating, you know, additional income by, you know, being a short-term rental, I want to have the growth of the real estate portfolio, which later on is another element I can utilize, you know, for retirement or passive, you know, income. My goal is in the next 18 months to replace my monthly income with real estate.
Nice.
But this is not happening because I have a start, right? Because I already have something I have built up. But that is really
short-term rentals. And Barbara, short-term rentals are the way to go for that, because with 2 to 3 short-term rental properties, you can make enough money to start investing. And Susan talked about financing, and that's a whole nother conversation. But you could. I was talking to someone the other day who had started with 2 short-term rental properties, and within, I think, 18 months or 2 years, they have over 250 long-term and short-term rental investment properties. Because short-term rental properties can help you exponentially increase revenue differently than long-term.
The key to understand is that the way you are financing is not, you know, is commercial. So pretty much it's a whole different element. And of course, there has to be some backing. So you have to understand, you know, it's a lot of element of, you know, you have to really understand the numbers and the finance element, you know, behind there, but they are treated. One part you have to be prepared for is different. You know, if you're used to that standard concept, okay, you might have a lender, and, you know, they might back out last minute. You have to always have a plan A, B, and C. The whole setup is quite different. And the other part is there's partners out there. There's now funds coming out in the short-term rental. There's, you know, what Amy is saying, there's like whole, you know, developments going on. You know, my goal is to be on that investment element of it and still utilize some of that knowledge I have to bring in. And this investments, they can be all over in the US, or they can be, you know, in other places. The US still is an amazing place in regards to real estate and real estate investment compared to a lot of other places in this world, because we are luckily a very safe country.
And proof of that is if you work with investors as stagers, a lot of them are from other countries. They're coming here to invest.
Yeah.
That's very true. Very true. Any last minute questions at all? We've got a couple more minutes left there, or any other tips? I do know that I think we will probably do more future short-term rental webinars. We may even focus, I want to do kind of a focus with Barbara, possibly about, you know, people that might be interested in investing in monies and all her corporate background. We're thinking about maybe doing a webinar on that as well. But and then Amy, I think are you going to be doing any class soon on your short-term rental class? Do you have one coming up that I don't know about? Because
I have one coming up with stagingtraining.com, which is CSP if you're a stager.
type that in the chat box there. Type that in the chat box for us.
And then I have one I'm doing the same month, I think, or within a couple weeks of that, through iHouse, I'm doing as well. And I'm going to post that on their Hive platform, which is their new educational platform. So it'll be on demand, but the initial class will be live, which I personally enjoy that because you can ask questions, you know, and get questions answered right then. I'm trying to get the link for the.
We need to do a short-term rental class here in Atlanta.
I know, I want to do that.
Yeah, we need to do one of those maybe this summer or fall. I think that would be well attended. I think that would be ideal. And I can find you a place where we can have it.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that, Amy. Awesome. Yeah, that would be,
actually, it would be ideal to do it in person and on Zoom, do like a dual. And of course this is recorded, so I will send out the recording to those people that have attended today, and do appreciate you all joining us. Hopefully you got some good marketing tips, tricks out of that, and it's a lot of information. I know there's so many things changing. You just have to literally, in a nutshell, do your research. You know, I'm sure there's lots of videos online, webinars, of course, Barbara's got webinars that we've done in the past that talk about vendors and furnishings and marketing, as well as you know, keeping current with what's happening in the industry, that she's got on her website. And Amy, we gotta take pictures of this project in Indiana. I'm kind of excited to see that. We're definitely gonna have to do a webinar just on that whole thing. How long is that going to take? Are they just breaking ground, or is it already exist, or what's the?
It's already all established. It's actually it's a mid-century modern lodge.
Nice.
That I'm turning into a Scandinavian retreat.
Nice. Well, definitely need to do a whole webinar on that and show us the before pictures, the process. I think that would be a really fun webinar to do in the future. Well, thank you guys so much. Barbara with Design2Sell, thank you. Amy with Vacation Rental in a Box, you guys are awesome.
Thank you, Krisztina.
Yes, thank you, Krisztina. Appreciate, you know, for hosting. And if anybody is interested, I'm also hosting a monthly multifamily event, and we have, you know, always exciting speakers coming in to tell more about, you know, multifamily investing and learning more about passive income. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, everybody, I have all their email addresses, so we'll definitely pop them into our databases and get you guys up to date with what's happening and new classes and webinars coming along. Again, Krisztina Bell with No Vacancy Home Staging. Thank you guys so much for joining. Paula, Heather, Trish, Donna, and Susan, Krisztina, and I don't know some of the stagers, and Brenda as well. And thank you guys so much for joining us during your lunchtime, and catch us on the next webinars coming up. You can follow me at Krisztina Bell, which basically is my name, but it does have a Z in it, KrisztinaBell on Instagram or Facebook, and for all the updates. And I will see you guys later.
Thank you,
everybody.